AI is transforming leadership. From decision-making to team dynamics, the role of the leader is evolving rapidly. In this episode, we explore how AI is reshaping leadership and management and what that means for your organization. Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information to get the business benefits from artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're talking about AI's impact on leadership and management. And for this, we have a special guest. His name is Allan Klassen. So he's been a 35-year business owner, recently retired, now transitioned into a leadership advisory and coach role, created his own business, ClarityQuest Leadership, helping CEOs and business leaders really strategize and achieve their goals, short, long term, both business and professional and personal. And just a note, Allan and I used to work together at Brookfield Residential, where he was the chief experience officer. Thank you very much, Allan, for joining us today.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Jeff. Great to be here. Excited about the next bit of conversation.
Today, it's important, we wanted to have you on here because Carl and I are always talking AI, and I think it's sometimes we get caught up we're into it so much and day to day that it's good to get somebody like you and get your experience from a busy executive to kind of share a bit of your views on the space. But before we do that, Al, can you kind of give us a bit of an update as to kind of what you're doing now?
Well, I think I'm working harder now, Jeff, than I ever did. To be quite frank with you, I've gone from that space of being unconsciously competent to consciously incompetent as I'm starting this new role as a executive coach that has been a passion project for me. So, as Carl said, I retired in July of last year from a 35-year career in the home building and development business, and now I'm really fulfilling a passion of mine is helping CEOs and business leaders, organizations reach their full potential. I decided to become an executive coach and leadership coach. Got aligned with a great group called Gravitas, which is a organization that provides a great operating system and some great tools and methodologies. So I'm helping businesses both back in Canada, and for those people that don't know, I am from Calgary and moved down to Phoenix 4 years ago, and so I work both in Canada and down here in the U.S. and having a blast. I'm doing a lot of keynote speaking on topics like customer experience, on leadership authenticity, on intentional living, and then providing support to both teams and individuals on their personal growth, as well as my core business is really helping companies strategize and create really great alignment throughout the organization to have clarity and focus on their objectives. So that's kind of where I'm at today, and learning every day.
That's very cool. No, thank you. And it sounds exciting, and you got some warmer temperatures down there, which is nice. So just to maybe kick it off here, Alan, I mean, we've talked a little bit in the past year about AI, but just wanted to kind of get your thoughts from your perspective, what you've seen, you've admitted that you're integrating AI into your business, but just wanted to get your sense as to what you think the impact AI will have on businesses in the coming 3 to 5 years.
Well, maybe just really quickly, this would have been May of last year. I had no idea of the power of AI or ChatGPT. I wasn't really paying attention. I was speaking at a conference in Dallas called Innovative 50 that was hosted by Sicilian Partners, who are a great tech company that are really focused on customer experience. They had a keynote speaker that was a black belt in AI. The gentleman asked the question, how many of you have ChatGPT on your phone? And I certainly didn't put my hand up, nor did probably 90% of a group of senior executives in the development industry. And this gentleman demonstrated to us, how AI can work in so many different ways, including the power of, uploading a set of plans, a blueprint onto his phone, prompting AI with some key questions and having within minutes questions that were answered, had to be checked, but were answered that would have taken most people probably 3-4 hours to do, if not longer. And so that was an eye opener for me. I immediately turned on ChatGPT in a very amateur way and started playing around with it. And Carl knows I'm about as technically savvy as, I don't know, I'm pretty lost with that stuff. And so I think it's, I've dug into it, and being a gravitas coach, our awareness and knowledge of AI is critical, because we're trying to learn and understand and coach our CEOs and business owners on the importance of embracing AI and this technology, as it is changing and going to change our landscape more than probably any other technology that we've seen in 20 years, if not longer, well, forever, in my opinion. So I think it's significant. I think it's absolutely critical for those individuals to embrace AI and understand the power of it and how it can really enhance their business in many different ways.
With the work that you do with ClarityQuest leadership and all the work now, your keynotes with business leaders and executives, and when we go into businesses and talk to primarily those leaders in C-suite, what we're finding is, yes, there's acknowledgement of AI, but there isn't a deep push to actually do it from an entire business perspective. Are you finding either the same thing, or what are you finding from executives and team and business leaders on their either experience with AI or what they're doing it from a business perspective?
Well, I think obviously it depends on the various organizations, the size of the organization, the depth of the organization, the budgets of the organization, et cetera. But at a very high level, I think the thing that comes to mind right away, as soon as you started to talk about this, Carl, is fear. I feel that there is a high level of fear, and both in terms of not understanding what AI truly is, and I'm still learning what it really truly is, and fear of from a team member perspective, or fear from an organizational perspective, this misnomer. I feel that this automatically is just going to cut out the human element of our businesses, and it's just like anything else. Everybody, people were afraid to turn on the internet 30 years ago, or however long ago, and I think there's just a level of fear, not knowing how to use it, not knowing how to lean into it. But it's funny, as what I've tried to do with my clients is, again, being very vulnerable and very naive, demonstrating how simple, like ChatGPT can be to solve a problem, to free up your time to be able to do some of the more meaningful things that you should be maybe leaning into. But it's just a journey. Some people are seeing others pass them by, and that's scary too. They might not be a technology-based organization, and they don't have to be, but they think they do. So there's a lot of unknown out there, I think, in my opinion, in my experience.
With that, Allan, I mean, I think that, and we see that all the time. I think that it for us, it's almost frustrating, because we're out there saying, hey, we're trying to help, even if you don't use us, invest some time to learn about AI and start to integrate it into your business. But we understand executives get busy, and sometimes it's surprising for us to see them just kind of put their head in the sand and go, I'm too busy, I don't want to pay it, I don't understand, and I'm just going to put it off. Or a lot of the times we see them just hand it over to their IT departments, which they did with their websites 25, 30 years ago. We feel this is a different turn of time when it comes to technology. We believe that all executives need to be educated on it, but I don't know, there seems to be a lot of people putting their head in their sand. So what do you think the risks are?
Well, first of all, maybe one of the reasons is, and some industries are different, but I would suggest to you pretty generically right now, it's a tough market right now. Both in Canada and the United States, there's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of curveballs being thrown at people. And there's a lot of blocking and tackling going on right now. What I mean by that is they're sticking to the basics. They're afraid to, take a risk necessarily. The larger organizations might have a team that are focused on this, but I would suggest to you that mid-sized business, 50 million, 100 million, 200 million, it depends on how they're shaped. So I think that might be one of the reasons. As far as the risks go, the way that I kind of coach and the way that I kind of communicate this is the risk is if you don't get engaged, you are going to get passed by. There are going to be organizations that you are competing against. They're going to use AI, whether it's in their operational efficiencies, whether it's in their product development, whether it's in their systems and processes, or whether it's in their customer experience, that are going to be able to take advantage of AI by leaning into it and creating more freedom for their people to do some more of the human element components of their roles. Now, again, the more transactional the business is, maybe it's it's even, I think AI can even play a bigger role in a purely transactional business versus a relational business, which is, I think, where the power is. It's my passion sandbox. That's where you can really use AI to really free up your people to be able to connect with people and connect with customers and use AI to do some more than, I don't want to say menial tasks, but you know what I'm talking about.
We see that all the time. I mean, we're always talking about get rid of those mundane, repetitive, time-wasting tasks so that you could take those key people in your organization at any level, whether it's from, administration, front desk, service crews out in the field, to allow them to spend more time on those tasks that they never get around to.
Some of my clients, and many clients out there, let's use processes, for example. Don't have proper written processes. Don't know where to start. Don't know how to create frameworks. I look at, and I try, and when I talk about AI, I talk about AI as being a really great place to empower me to be able to do other things. Just like when you want to empower your employees, you kind of give them some boundaries, you give them some prompts, and you let them go. It's the same thing with AI from my experience. And so when processes, for example, you can create a template for your organization around process management like that. That would take you a month to be able to get developed, and then you go in and you kind of personalize it for your business. When you demonstrate that, then organizations go, "Wow, this is kind of cool," but people are reluctant to change and are struggling at times.
So, Allan, I think, as you know, one of the hardest things about technology implementation is not the technology itself, right? Sometimes that's the easiest part. It's the change management. It's the getting the buy-in, getting people to actually use whatever, the implementation. And we've seen it. You've seen it for how many years, how many decades? Like, there's a new thing, but then people don't use it because no one actually taught them how to use it, or it's just another thing that on a Wednesday when I have 6 deadlines, I have to remember to use it. How are you, or have you had conversations with executives, or have you seen that part of either the fear or the deliberate head in the sand for AI is that more of like, this is just another new thing that I have to put on top of more things that our company is already busy. And like you mentioned, it's economic uncertainty. I don't know where my business is going, or my team's already so busy. Like, have you seen that?
Yeah, for sure. And you could put a ton of topics on this conversation, and I would give you kind of the same answer when you talk about change management. In my experience and the way that I coach is, if you are not always leading with why and leading with a North Star, and continuing to remind the organization on why AI or how AI can impact our business, impact our experiences, improve our bottom line. If you're not leading with that and continuing to remind that as a leadership group on a continuous basis, you're going to have people that are going to go down rabbit holes, and they're going to come up with roadblocks. And you have that curve of, you start here and you always will go down here, and then all of a sudden you get the flywheel flying up this way. But that's with organizations that continue to lead with a purpose and lead with a reason why this is a important part of our business. It's those companies that don't have a strategy. They don't have clarity of where they're going. They don't have clarity why or how AI can improve whatever business they're in, and they're not communicating that. They're just saying, "Hey, you know what? This AI thing's a cool thing. There's lots of people doing it. We got to do it too." And then it becomes just another priority, and then that just piles up. And I that's my opinion on change management. Period. worked on some of those change management exercises before, so we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think the reason why this is a little bit different than what we've seen is a normal ERP or whatever the implementation is for a company, is that the actual impact of this goes beyond like what an ERP could do, what a CRM could do, right? It's a fundamental piece, because it kind of, to me, is a leveler. So massive organizations who, need this many people, whatever that amount is, 200, 2,000, 200,000, doesn't matter. But now with the capabilities of AI, you have the ability, and we've talked about this, Jeff, before, where there's like one person, $1 billion valued company, right? All the positives and negatives come of that. But that's like the kind of shining North Star. We're talking groups of 3, 5, 7 people punching way above their weight, now competing with 70, 700 people because of AI, which if businesses actually kind of thought through, that is a long-term risk and disruption, because those people do not need the overhead that a 700 or 7,000 company will have. And I think that's the difference, is that those companies who are AI native can go toe to toe with a 700 company, because they don't have to do all the bureaucratic maneuvering, layers, approvals, and so on.
I think with that too, Carl, I think the thing is, Alan, what we've seen a lot of times is a lot of people, you're always looking in the rearview mirror because we're familiar with the past. We're uncertain about the future. It's unknown. And I think with AI, a lot of people say, well, it's always happened this way, and so it's probably going to happen that way in the future. And I think that's the thing with AI is, and I always use the example that, never in our generation have we ever seen the world shut down in a day. And yet it happened a few years ago when COVID hit. And I think that's the thing with this. And that's probably that scary part that you're talking about for leaders, is that sometimes, we're not even certain where AI is going. So there's that uncertainty. But like Carl says, for a company that has 2,000 employees, you might have a competitor that has 20 employees in a couple of years. How do you deal with that?
Without a doubt. I mean, and again, this is the unknown. And I think the way that I'm coaching and the way that I communicate this is, you got to start somewhere and start small. I do an exercise with my clients around core functions. So core functions would be operations, would be IT, would be marketing, would be accounting. A core function today is AI. The way I'm coaching is, you need to have some. So with every core function, you have one person who's accountable for it. You have many people that are responsible for it. With AI, same thing. Have at least one of your, and these are not large companies, have one person that is leaning in and understanding it and spending some time and being the champion to at least find out where you can implement AI into your business, or have a core committee that is working on this if you're a larger organization. But I just think sometimes you hear a lot of these stats and this data, and I'm sure that it's all real. It's that they are reluctant to start. Many of them are reluctant to start or don't know where to start, and so that's just the challenge that they're faced with.
One thing that I wanted to kind of get into too, for mid-sized companies without those big IT departments and how fast AI is progressing, is this something where leaders are a little worried that AI is so kind of like a black box, where I think Jeff, we had the conversation with several CEOs where somebody said, AI is like, it's as if you had a car, but then the next week there's a button that changes. Like the next day you may not have a steering wheel, but then the next day you do have a steering wheel, but it looks a little different. Then the next day you don't have accelerator pedals, but then the next day you do, but it's a little different. And then there's a point where like your vehicle could actually fly, but you didn't know that there's a function, right? So your car is constantly changing every week, but all you know how to do right now is drive it in the same manner, right? Has that conversation come up? And based on that, on those changes, I guess, how would a business, it's something different, how would a business kind of adapt to that?
Well, I think nobody likes to be first. I mean, I was in Apple the other day trying to buy some earpods for my daughter for her birthday. And get a cord to plug it in. And of course, the adapters are all different now, and it's just kind of continuously evolving. I'm just using that as an example. And I think this is a perfect example too, particularly for those that are laggards in terms of innovation and in terms of technology. They are thinking, Carl, that this machine learning is going to change exponentially. Let's wait to see somebody else fail, and I'll come in second. And meanwhile, they are falling behind in terms of knowledge and awareness and some simple tools that could be used today. But I think that there is that thought out there of this is just the beginning, or it's the flavor. This is the other one that comes up. It's the flavor of the day. Mm-hmm. This is not here to stay. This is not something that is going to be, it's not going to be as impactful as everybody is talking about. And to that, this is where I just tell people, I think you got your head in the sand. And this is where an opportunity that if you are not paying attention to it, you are going to get blown by in all sorts of different aspects of business.
With that, Allan, I mean, what do you say, or what would you say to business executives right now who are uncertain, or maybe say they're not technical or they don't have time when it comes to AI? What would your advice be?
Well, I don't necessarily say, I show. Did an exercise the other day with a client that was struggling with putting together roles and responsibilities. And in 2 minutes, I put the framework together for an administrative assistant, just to make it simple. And in 2 minutes, from the prompt that I gave it, I provided an example. I had somebody who was leaning in now. Right. I did the same thing with some work around customer profile. A client was struggling with understanding who their core customer was. We prompted it with the right questions, and boom, there was a profile. They had to go in there and proof it and edit it, but it provided some really quick framework for them to be able to start from. So I don't know enough, technically. And I'm 64 years old. I'm not a technical guy, but if I can lean into this and see the value of it and demonstrate that as an example to my clients, then that's in my opinion, the most powerful way to do it. And or I will, try and suggest for them to look at examples of where AI is being utilized in their industry, if I know about it, to see the opportunities.
Learn more about AI in business by watching these videos here. Enjoy today's episode? Want to learn how AI can impact your business? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.